So it's the sequel that's coming out pretty soon. How's the first one doing?
Pretty good. I mean, I kind of had low expectations for it, with it being, the first book that I ever put out. But like, I'm so glad I'm getting
marketing and stuff.
Sometimes, like, honestly, it's the area that I lack at the most.
The marketing part of things.
Yeah, because it's a lot of the stuff that I have tried has just not worked out for me. Like,
that's where all my research is being right now, and that's the topic of today anyway. Is the whole like marketing part of things, the street teams, the art, phase. So we'll get well into that for sure. But like that's where my attention is right now anyway. Hey Marty, you survived.
Yes.
The wife didn't kill you. What'd you do?
I don't care if her parents are coming around. I've got an appointment for Books by ADRIAN podcast.
Oh, good. Just throw me under the bus, and now whenever I finally meet her, she's gonna hate my guts. Fantastic.
Not like you. Impossible.
I know, right? I'm adorable. Okay. So we're talking marketing today. We're talking marketing. We're talking ARC, advanced reader copies. We're talking street teams.
Marketing, if you will.
Marketing. Very nice. And so, I don't know, like, where do you want to get started, Marty? Because this is kind of your topic. You wanted to talk about this. Why? Let's start there. Why was this topic what you wanted to talk about today?
I don't respond to Marty.
Oh, excuse me, Martin. Mr. Lejeune.
I'm not a crime-solving ghost.
Well, no, I was thinking more like, Back to the Future, Marty and Doc.
Yeah.
A charming go-getter with like a whole hero's journey before him, that sort of deal. It was a compliment.
So you were saying, make my podcast for me, come up with the ideas, this is hard.
No, that's not what I said. I asked you, I specifically asked you, we're not doing this on my channel, sir. You are not coming into my house and thinking that you're going to listen to me. I asked you what you thought was a topic that was underrepresented on AuthorTube. And you said ARCs and street teams. So that's what we're talking about. And I want to know why you think that's, like, what do you think is missing from the conversation? Why was that the thing that like stuck out to you?
Because they're a really good idea and people should have them. And
agreed.
Pretty much all of our friends and fellow AuthorTubers, when I have said this to, have gone, "What's that? Why do you want one? How does that help?"
Oh no.
Is that like beta reading?
That is a bad sign. That is a bad sign. Well, before you entered, I was just talking to Miss Amy Rosenfeldt here, and I was asking her about her first book, and she is making sales. She said she's happy she is still making sales and whatnot, but I asked her if she was marketing it, and she said no, not really. That's not something she knows too much about. So I told her that's kind of what we're going to be digging into today. I'm launching my debut in a couple of months here, and I think everyone is well aware that I have very unrealistic goals that I'm going to meet, and in order to do that, I need to be King Mac Daddy of the marketing scene and sell like a mofo. So
there is a lot. Are we doing the thing, or are we going to start the thing?
Oh yeah, the thing is happening. You're late, sir. Just jump in.
There is a lot. The good thing is there is a lot of detailed information out there on all of this. The bad news is no one's really put that into like an easy to digest sort of package. What I would say is David Gochran's Starting from Zero, which is like a free course he does, sort of talks you through the basics and stuff like newsletter promotions. Mal Cooper has a book called Help My Facebook Ads Suck, which I think is getting a new edition soon. There's also
Great title.
courses on the writingwives.com. David Gorkran also has like an hour long basic version of like Facebook ads on his YouTube channel. And also the 5-day ad challenge by Brian Cohen.
Let me stop you right there. For everybody watching at home, I'm going to collect all of these links and names and books and titles and stuff, and I put them in the description down below, because I know he just threw like a truckload of information at you, and we're going to break it apart here in a minute. Please continue, Martin.
Get those free things, and you'll have a foundation of how to market a book. And you still probably won't have any sales, because this is a uphill battle, definitely.
Oh, God. Don't tell me. I remember, like, when I was first marketing my book, and like everyone was telling me like all these different like marketing strategies that I should take up, and this one particular person who I was working with really closely throughout the process was saying to like get into like all these like email newsletters that just basically promote books out, and I put a lot of money into those. Probably
money.
Yeah, I put some money into them. Probably like October-ish of 2021. I don't think I got any results out of it, so I do not trust those newsletter type things at all right now. Maybe it was just something wrong with like my book being like misgenred at the time or something, or just, you know, not being to trend, but like severely do not trust those.
I've got a load going out next week, so I've got several going out next week, so we'll check in and report back.
Yeah, well, on Martin's recommendation, I signed up with Story Origin, and you know, their authors are doing newsletter swaps, and you know, ideally you want to match up with people who match your book's genre or share an audience in some way, and at the very least, I'm getting newsletter signups. I'm not selling anything yet. My short story is free, but I'm getting downloads. I'm getting signups. So, you know, like you said, maybe it's a genre issue. Maybe, you know, the audience wasn't right for you. But I also am not like spending money. I mean, the website does have a membership that I paid for, but you know, I'm not. So
there's a slight difference between. So you got Story Origin, which sort of facilitates you having your own newsletter, and they do have group promos. But then you have websites like Fussy Librarian, which and like BookBub, which don't worry about BookBub because you're not getting a BookBub. Basically, they have really big newsletters of book promotions. And you give them money to get mentioned. There's not a really decent terminology to sort of differentiate between those. I mean,
does it reap results? Is the return on investment worth such a thing?
If you can get a BookBub, then you're basically set. I don't think it's quite as like as good as it was a couple of years back, but then that's true of a lot of things with indie publishing. But what sort of the thinking is, you drop a book to a discount or free, get mentioned in the promo, and then have the read through to the rest of the series be where it pays off. Which has nothing to do with ARC readers.
No, I mean, we're talking.
I said
all
ARC
that
readers. That readers is twice. It's like pin number or CGI imagery.
Martin, focus. Okay, so so on also on Martin's recommendation, I checked out Mr. Goffrin's Gochran. I checked out Mr. Gochran's free course, and yeah, that's one of the strategies that I pulled out of there too, that you know, I'll at least be trying out. Although from what I understand, it's possible that Amazon has kind of changed things up since he made that course, so I don't know how much of it still applies. I'm going to experiment with it, but the idea being that like you drop your book's price for, this week, right? For like Monday to Friday, it's going from whatever it usually is down to this price. And, it's a great deal and everybody's like, holy shit, I gotta get it. And so you gotta get people in to buying it every single day as consistent numbers as you can get as possible, right? The idea being that like you market it to your own newsletter on Monday, to like 3 other different newsletters on Tuesday with newsletter swaps. You do Facebook ads on Wednesday, whatever it is. Like every day, just target like different audiences.
We chilled on Sunday,
right? and the idea being to get as consistent sales numbers as possible throughout the week. If you can spike them up on Friday, even better. And Amazon like sees the consistency of your sales throughout that week as something worth promoting, and they'll start promoting your book at that point for a week or two in their emails, and they're also bots and stuff like that. And that creates like this like after effect, this like halo of sales is what he called it, right? The halo period, where you're still making sales, your sale is done, your price is back to full price, and now even though your sales are dropping off slowly over the next week or two, you're reaping more of a profit for each sale. And so anyway, it's one of the things that I'll be trying from that. It's one of the things that like contextualize the idea of like marketing this thing and using sales and prices and different audiences to kind of stretch that out and get some consistency in your sales. But again, that's like an event that you do like once in a while. You can't do that every week. It doesn't make any sense. So
Amazon let you do countdown deals. To illustrate the point, this book is getting a countdown deal on the 20th through the 26th, where it will be 99 cents pence in the US and the UK. And you can do that once every 90 days. And it'll be interesting to see what the follow through to book 2 is.
Sorry, I was telling them to close the door. They opened it, left it open, and it was just noisy. Yeah, well, what about that? How's that going?
Well, it hasn't happened yet.
When do you launch? Friday? This Friday?
Friday, yeah.
Right on. How involved is Malcolm in all your marketing and all that stuff?
Malcolm doesn't do marketing. That's what he has me for.
Fair enough. Divide and let Martin conquer. Hold on, my kid is running through the...
We have Barry, my co-author. Malcolm is the other half of Bradley Lejeune, and we have very complementary skills.
I like that about you guys. You're like the yin and yang of writing sci-fi.
I'm good at, sort of the broad strokes, outlining and rushing a first draft, and he's good at spelling things right.
High praise.
I said that before. I'm like, it gets a laugh, but does it upset you? And he just said, as long as I don't have to come on the stream say what you want about me.
Yeah, there you go. I like his attitude. He's very loosey-goosey with it. That's cool. So, how do you feel, Martin, about the whole book trailers and video promos and all that kind of stuff?
Conflicted. If you've got a first book and you're sitting there going, "Oh, do I need a book trailer?" I would say absolutely not. If, on the other hand, you fell into novel writing after a career in visual effects and could spend an afternoon knocking out something that looks actually really quite professional and get a voice actor to do a really nice voiceover for it that you can then use in your advertising, then do it. And especially with Facebook's click rates, they tend to push video more. Video tends to get a lower cost per click, and even doing something like uploading a 10-second clip of your cover to a TikTok template where there's a bit of animation on it, so it's a video and it's moving slightly, and then you take the watermark off, put that in Facebook. Like at the moment, and I probably shouldn't be saying this, is performing better than Facebook adverts with just pictures.
Just, yeah, the algorithm's just being in absolute love with video lately. I mean, it's frankly good for me because, like, video training and, like, video editing was one of the things I ended up studying, but...
Yeah. What I'd say as well with Facebook, if you're going to do a video advert, is do a like a square video, so you crop it, so it will look, so it will look good on a phone and all right on desktop. That's what I found performs better. Because obviously, if you've got a vertical video, it's just going to look weird on a desktop, and a wide, like a 16:9 won't read on a phone.
But, well, even TikTok now has the full screen deal. You can go full screen on widescreen videos and go sideways with your phone.
Yeah, but don't, because no one will appreciate it.
I do.
Yeah.
I do that.
You are a man of culture.
Am I?
I was about to say, like, that kind of stuff is, like, very rare. Everyone just loves, like, the good old portrait video, which is, like, so
I hate
weird.
portrait video.
I remember specifically that, like, news, at least here in New Zealand, was, like, when you film your videos to send to us, like, reporting, like, what is going on in your area, please don't film portrait. They absolutely hated when it was filmed in portrait, and now they're just passing it by because everyone else is, like, doing portrait videos now with, all the...
Like, I understand
TikTok.
why it happens. Everybody is more comfortable holding their phone up like that, so it just, like, makes sense for them to, nobody wants to do this. But I'm like, just like, it's ugly. It's just, it looks terrible. Every time I have to do it, I hate it.
I've done,
You think
like,
portrait
visual
videos
effects
is... You go.
I've done, like, visual effects comps in portrait mode for things like TikTok and Instagram stories, and I'm just saying, like, oh, I'm so bad.
Yeah, like, it feels unnatural. What were you gonna say, Amy?
You think portrait video is going to get into cinema?
Oh, I hope not. I mean, although we have kind of seen it, haven't we? They use it in Justice League when they reshot Cavill with the mustache, the whole deal. Like, I think that scene at the beginning of Justice League where he's, like, talking to the kid, I think they shot that in portrait mode. Looked awful, if I remember correctly. But anyway, interesting. The whole video thing is really interesting to me because obviously, like, I really want that to be a big part of marketing, but I just don't know how effective it really is. At least way it's not on, like, YouTube, for example. Like, I really don't feel like YouTube is gonna get me any sales, with the promos running on there. But housing them on there maybe, and then using them elsewhere.
More than you think.
I feel like TikTok will do it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, YouTube.
You can trace You can trace sales, like some of your sales, back from, like, your YouTube promos.
Stuff like, people who I have got to know through YouTube, and then they've turned around and said, "I've bought your book." That's one of those things we sort of try and talk ourselves, saying that doesn't really count, but it does.
Hey, a book sale's a book sale.
You make connections with people, and some of them buy your book, and you don't make connections with people hoping that they'll buy your book, because that is, just weird and rude. But, it does happen.
Yeah.
And certainly someone with a platform of your standing, there are people going to be like, hey, Adrian's got a book out, I'm going to read that and give him my money. Or more likely, people will be like, hey, Adrian's got a book out, I'm going to pay for it and never read it. You know, I've got people who are like, they've got their book out and they've dropped it to 99 cents and yeah, I'll pick that up to help, you know, the algorithm sort of throw them in the right direction. And Amy, if you're worried about marketing, don't, because I have some very good news. It's so easy compared to trying to get ARC readers.
So it's a wonderful segue, Martin. An expert segue, if I do say so myself.
And I can agree with that segue for sure.
Well, I mean, how different is it from beta readers? Because the whole different, as in like acquiring the readers, is it really that much more challenging a process, or is it just the idea of getting people to promise a review when the book launches and hope that they like what's the challenge there?
No one quite knows exactly how it works, but especially Amazon does not want anyone who's ever met you to leave a review. I've heard about people having reviews removed because they opened Amazon, clicked the link for their book, and sent it to the person going, hey, where do I review that? And because they'd left the full link in, they could see that the author passed the link to the reviewer and took it down. And then I've had people who are, good friends, have reviews that are still up. So you don't want
That's
it
wild.
to be, and like if there's been things in the past where authors all review each other's books and then those will get taken down because that, looks dodgy to the algorithm. And there's a lot of like Amazon's reviews are based on people selling, not books. And, if someone was like, I'm selling, a brick, and, you don't give free bricks out to people to review your bricks. So Amazon is okay with people giving out free books in exchange for reviews, but anything beyond that, it will just, if it even suspects that like there's any favor being done, the review just goes. So you need to find people who are, not immediately connected to you, and I think it is against the terms of service if they are a relative. But the other advantage to ARC readers is finding reviewers with their own platforms that will send your book beyond, your immediate reach. And quite often you'll find people who have blogs or vlogs or TikToks or Instagrams that will post it there and on Amazon and on Goodreads. And if you can get, 10 or 20 or 500 of them ready to go on day one of your book launch, you're laughing.
What do you mean you're laughing?
Well, because day one, you've got a ton of reviews on your book saying, oh, it's really quite wonderful. And people see that and go, oh, this is a real book. People have read it. I'm going to buy it.
So the challenge therein is finding ARC readers that are not connected to you, that are not also fellow authors for some reason. That one really bugs me because we have to read as authors. It's part of our job description. It's part of like our prep work and our, like it's necessary for what we do. Why would our reviews?
Well, to clarify, you can
down?
Review. There's nothing wrong with authors reviewing. What's frowned upon is if you say, I've written a book, you've written a book, let's both read each other's books and then post reviews. Because that's seen as, you getting something in exchange for a review.
Yeah, but what if when I post my review of the other person's book, like I hated the book and I write really awful things about it in the review? Is that still like, because it's not cheating if it's a bad review?
Well, you're explaining that to a robot who only understands, two of those three concepts. And there's plenty of people who, do this and, it doesn't get flagged. It's just, something you need to be aware of. And plus, if you read a book and it's terrible and that they're going to post a review of your book, are you going to say this is terrible or are you going to say it's remarkable?
Hey man, that's the ethical dilemma that we that we get into when we agree to review people's books, man. It's like you still gotta be honest. Like you can't go on there and lie. It's like, the formatting was really good. I really liked the margins. I thought that the margins were really good. I like
He's going to know you're talking
the font.
about him.
The font was excellent.
Typeface.
A really good choice for. If you're really into fonts, you should really pick up this book.
I am glad they didn't use Comic Sans.
Yeah. There was no Comic Sans anywhere to be seen. So A+, 5 stars. Just don't say the bad stuff. If the only good thing is the formatting, then that's what I'm going to review. Oh man. Well, how much time do you think that we should give these ARC readers to read your books and be prepared with a decent review? And how many reviews are you allowed on your launch day? Because I heard something about Amazon thinking it's weird if you have too many reviews up on your launch day. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't think there's a hard and fast number, but file it under problems you want to have.
Yeah, that would be a good problem. That's true. Still a problem. But yeah, so what do you think timeline-wise? How far before your release day do you get the ARC books out?
It sort of depends on your relationship with the reviewers. If it's people and you can probably get away with 2 to 3 weeks. But if you're sort of making contact with people and saying, I've written a book, would you read it? It will sort of depend on what, especially if they've got a blog or something, they'll have lots of, other stuff on the pipeline, so you need to give them more time. And not everyone you give a book to is going to post a review, so you just sort of have to keep, especially early on, just keep passing them out and hoping some of them come back to you.
Yeah, the critique partner process definitely taught me that not everybody who agrees to read your book is going to read it. And, not everybody who starts reading it is going to finish it. And, not everybody who finishes it is actually going to give you any feedback. So it's I get it. The ARC reader thing is going to be a tricky one. Because I really want to be successful in that particular area. I want a bunch of reviews up on launch day. So
the other thing I really misjudged first time round was going, I've sent it to all these beta readers. They've read it, given me feedback. They're going to support me. Send an email afterwards going, hey, would you consider leaving a review? And it's like, no, they're not all going to do that.
Maybe it was going to be a bad review.
I mean, hardly. You've read my book. I'm marvelous.
Dodged a bullet there. Well, yes, it is. It is a marvelous book. and thou art marvelous. But, okay. Yes. Please save me.
I must know your thoughts on this, Martin. Mm-hmm. Have you used NetGalley, and if so, what were your experiences like with it?
What is NetGalley?
Oh my god.
Tell Adrian what NetGalley is, so I'm not speaking for once.
in my opinion, it's a dangerous place. NetGully is a dangerous place, and not like the kind of dangerous where it's like TikTok scrolling for hours kinds of dangerous. In my experience, like NetGully is basically like a way that you pay people to do ARC reviews of your book, and usually quite prominent reviewers. Like these kinds of NetGully people, they like do book reviews on there like all the time, and reviews from NetGalley can often help you get like into like really big sorts of like circles and promotions. But in my experience, no, NetGully viewers are piranhas. They are absolutely vicious in my opinion, because all the NetGully reviewers that I had in my experience, I think I had like 20 who got interested, but then only 5 of them who did reviews, and the average review for that would have probably been like 2.5 to 3 stars. They are very rare to give you like a 5-star review, even if they said they really enjoyed or they loved the book. They are super stingy.
And you're paying for it.
Yeah, and you're paying for it. Big money as well. And according to like lots of people who I've heard that like have tried this or researched into it, it's universal for especially indie publishers that like NetGully viewers are going to absolutely be so freaking vicious and critical in a bad way of your books. Like, I'm okay with being critical in like a good kind of way. I mean, some of us are like just naturally drawn to it. I'm one of those people who can get critical, but like I know how to do like good critiques. But like NetGully, it's like, I really like this book, 3 stars. In my experience, at least. So I don't know if you've had anything different, Martin.
I've not.
I definitely.
I'm pretty reluctant to do any sort of pay for reviews, and like.
I was just gonna say that.
It is one of those things where, like, it's like you're paying NetGalley to basically put your book in front of reviewers rather than technically directly paying for a review, so it shouldn't get you into any trouble. But like, technically it could, but yeah, it's quite expensive what it is, and I've heard a lot of people say just that. That they will, you know, people pay a load of money and then suddenly their rating tanks worse than if they shout at striking postmen.
Yeah, it's like I don't have a lot of regrets and like because I've been very figuring myself with me publishing my first book, but NetGully was definitely among those regrets. I mean, I learned from it. You can always learn from something that you end up regretting later, but like for someone who has very little regrets, NetGully was one of them for me.
I think, I don't know if it's true of NetGalley. I know there's a couple of those services where if you do get a review from someone, you then get their contact details, so you can go to them directly going forward if they leave a review you like.
I didn't have any of that with NetGully, no, so probably somewhere else.
But yeah, the idea is with a ARC team, so you've got an ARC team and you've got a street team, and an ARC team is all about posting reviews. A street team is a bit more about, like, it comes from bands when, I mean, they're all on Spotify now. I don't think live music is a thing in the future, but they'd put like a poster up on a lamppost saying, you know, my mate's band is playing on Friday, go see it. And it's all about getting people to go on Instagram and Twitter and MySpace and say, Adrian's book's out, I'm really excited. And just...
Did you say MySpace?
Yeah, I was naming social medias.
Yeah, all the latest social medias, of course.
I mean, you know, typewriters got back into fashion. Maybe MySpace will?
Good God, dude. MySpace. Like, I can definitely see a future where, like, people walk around with a contact lens in their eyeball that, like, gives you data on everybody that you see, and, like, their Facebook username is, like, you know, like the Sims just hanging above their heads. I can totally see that. Like, Facebook is just like everybody's like ID now. I
can't see that. I can't because that's terrifying. I don't want to be
may be terrifying, but it may be terrifying, but it's definitely
surveillance
plausible.
so much, and it's terrifying.
Yeah, man. Like I don't see MySpace coming back when Facebook is going to be our chips that they put inside our bloodstreams or whatever they do. Anyway, so all right. So ARC team and street team. Now, you've got the ARC team putting up reviews. You've got the street team promoting the thing on social media.
Ideally, if you're
first of all, where do you build your street team? Like, how do you what do you? Is it just like a simple like a newsletter type dealie? Is it like a Facebook group? Like what do you?
I think often they will have a Facebook group, like a private one, and you can be like, find cool stuff from your books to like hand out as and they can get it early and whatnot. And ideally these are like your most excited fans, and really it's all just a numbers game. It's about getting your book in front of as many people as you can. Most people ignore it. A couple of people might read your free thing. Some of them are going to buy your book. Some of them are actually going to like it, and about 0.5% will be like, oh my god, this is the new religion, I'm going to talk about you all the time.
And they'll post reviews and everything. It'll be great.
In my experience from being on street teams, we were all in Discord servers, just mainly because that was the main way for us to contact in our particular circles. But yeah, Discord servers are good because then you end up like, instead of having to like for Facebook groups as like a competitor or like the main competitor to Discord and their servers, you don't have to like scroll through posts or like type into a search bar. There's like the individual channels there. And so like we had like one channel where basically all the promo images were posted, and then another channel for all the different challenges and the results for them that we had to do. So yeah, street teams are fun to be in.
Yeah, I remember being in like what Martin refers to as like the original street teams for bands back in the day. I used to play in bands in high school, little punk bands and stuff like that, and for a little while after high school, and you fall in love with certain bands when you're that young, and you follow them around and you become their street team, or you join their fan club. They had fan clubs back then. I don't know if that's still a thing, but you pay for like a membership and you get like a t-shirt and all kinds of stuff. So like that's fun, man, because it's community. You're rallying behind a piece of art that you believe in, and telling other people like, hey, this thing is awesome, you should check it out. So I'm all for that. I'm really looking forward to building one myself. I just wasn't sure. Discord server sounds really good. Good way to like, keep everybody in touch, up to date. It's a good one.
Weren't you that guy who got kicked out of the band and ended up becoming a substitute teacher and then playing music with the kids and then winning the Battle of the Band?
No. That was Jack Black. But I can see where your confusion came in. Yeah. And Martin doesn't get invited back. Okay. This is Martin's final appearance on Books by Adrian.
If he doesn't get invited back, he's going to force his way in.
Unfortunately for Amy, this is yet another episode that will never air because I just want to stick it to Martin. So she's just never going to be on my channel, and it's Martin's fault.
I'm going to end up working in a school and be like, okay, kids, I'm going to teach you about podcasting.
There we go. Oh well, hey, the mug. He's got my mug. That's my mug. I should have worn your t-shirt. I could have reciprocated. You need a mug. I want a mug, Martin. I sent you a mug. I want one back. Yeah, give me a mug. Amy, you got merch? I know you got a book. What else you got? What's going on over there? Let's market some stuff. This is about marketing.
I got a book.
Yeah. Tell us about that book. Market that book. And go.
Catch my breath for her.
No time.
This is like the reverse try not to laugh challenge, where
Yeah.
instead of trying not to laugh, you have to stop yourself from laughing.
Yeah. Oh god. Yeah, let's sell some books here. Everybody, go buy Amy's book. She's gonna tell us what it is.
Yes, it's fantasy Men in Black with a writing style reminiscent of Percy Jackson, Abby Tacker.
You had me at
Fighting
fantasy
about-
Men in Blacks. Just say less. I'm in.
Yes. Yeah,
Sold.
Abby Tacker finding out about family history through a blood feud spanning across 3 worlds.
Damn, girl.
There is
like-
no dance moves like this. There's
Yeah,
also
that's-
fight scenes, but not dance moves.
That's in the sequel. The dance moves come in the sequel. How many books in the series?
There will be 5, and I've only got
Ooh.
1 out, so I need to. I'm leaving now, and I'm gonna start writing.
Yeah, sure you are. No,
Sure,
you're
I
not.
am.
Sure you are. No, hey man, like I'll tell you what. For 3 years, I've been working on this novel, this manuscript, right? And it's 150K. It might be a little bit more than that by the time I'm done with it. And the whole thing is, this is the first like thing that I've really finished, right? Like the first thing that I've started and finished, and I'm actually going to put out there. And excuse me. And the thing about it is, like, the reason that this is the first thing that I finished is because I actually like got like real professional with this one, you know. And you've already done so once before. You've already gotten to the point where you finished a book and put it out, and it exists out in the world. It's being sold. It's a thing. So
It's so
you're-
tiny, but it's there. Zoom
Oh
in,
yeah, I
guys.
see it.
No, I'll bring it forward. Because I love this cover to pieces.
Bring it.
Hey-oh.
Beautiful.
Do a little
Very
dance.
nice.
There's no dancing.
For a book with no dancing seems to be a big part of the marketing. So, so anyway, this is the first thing that I got like really professional with, and yet, like by the time I finished, like the second draft and sent it off to the editor for the first time, I knew in that moment I could have gotten this done faster. Even though I became way more professional than I ever had been before, I can vividly remember times where I was playing a video game when I should have been writing, or when I sat down to write and I didn't do anything and instead just stared at a screen or got, you know, distracted and did something else or whatever it was. And for as much as I actually got things done, I know I could have gotten this done in half the time if I had been more disciplined with myself and with my writing and treated it more professionally from the very jump. In fact, I think it was like halfway through the process that I finally, like, you know, broke through like that whole like turning pro thing, you know. So that being said, you've done it once before. You got to get a sequel out. You're gonna get it out. You just gotta, you know, you just gotta sit down and do the thing. You gotta do the thing. You gotta do the work. It's really annoying how much work it takes.
Oh, absolutely.
Writing a book is so much work and nobody gets it.
God, I mean, at least in my experience, it was like, this book 1 was far more cohesive, and like I had to edit far less with that than I've so far had to for book 2. It feels like I'm having to rewrite 1/3 of the scenes in it, at least, because of the
same thing.
Yeah, I'm dreading the sequel as well. Like I already know that I'm going to be saying the same thing you guys are saying, because the first book was pretty straightforward for me. Like I outlined it from beginning to end. I wrote it from beginning to end. Like it was very linear for me of an experience. But I just know that the second book, man, I'm going to be jumping back and forth, rewriting chapters, deleting chapters, throwing them out, starting again. Like, I know it's going to be madness.
I don't know if it's like book one, you're like, oh, I'm writing a book, I wouldn't do it wrong, but you sort of really go over your outline and stuff, and like book two, you're like, I've done it before, it's fine, and then you come back and you're like, oh, this doesn't work at all.
Yeah.
All the tension needs to be tightened and ratchet everything up to the max.
Yeah. Well, at least in my case, I believe it's because I've I've loosely outlined the trilogy of novels, and if I've outlined a trilogy, that's 3 acts, and if we're talking about a 3-act story, what part of a 3-act story is the hardest to write? The middle. At least for me, that's the hardest. The beginning is easy, the ending is pretty easy if you got a good idea, but that middle, like tying everything together, weaving all that up, it's a pain in the ass. And so I think that's why I'm dreading the second book. I feel like it's the middle, and it's gonna like be a really hard thing to do. And then I feel like the third book is gonna be a lot easier to write.
Just look how many people say the Two Towers is their favorite of Lord of the Rings.
That's very true, but you know, well, yeah. I was gonna say that wasn't written as 3 books; it was written as 1 book, but that would still be the middle. So yeah,
wasn't it written as 6?
Was it?
Well, yeah, because like the bit with Frodo and Sam is like book 2, and then the bit with Aragorn and all that is book 3. And
no, it was my understanding that Tolkien always meant it to be 1 solid book, and his publisher was like, "You got to break it up," and then he reluctantly broke it up to 3. Like that's why the titles kind of suck. Like he didn't even want to title it "Return of the King." They just, you know, it's like, well, whatever. I guess it's "Return of the King." Like, you know, it's kind of a spoiler. Like,
well, the definitive version is the vinyl. J.R.R. Tolkien reads and sings Lord of the Rings.
Excuse me.
Track that down. It's something
fancy
else.
Schmancy.
That's why they made a musical out of it that absolutely flopped. They made a Lord of the Rings musical, and it was apparently a flop. I haven't seen or listened to it, but
I mean, wasn't that called The Hobbit? I feel like that was called The Hobbit because there's a lot of songs in that first one. Way too many.
Oh my god.
Have I told you this? I can fix The Hobbit. I know how to fix it. Well, not anymore. Martin,
the book or the films?
The films. Unfortunately, Ian Holm has passed away, but while he was still alive, I could have fixed it. The whole idea is, you know how it's like ridiculous and like over the top, and like they're, you know, floating down the river in barrels and stuff, and like it all works as a children's book, but in the context of like the Lord of the Rings, it doesn't work
anymore.
Exactly. And so here's how you fix that. You know how it starts with Frodo and Bilbo, and Bilbo is like writing the story, and he's going to tell him the story there and back again. The whole movie is Bilbo telling Frodo the story. And so when it gets ridiculous like that, like in the middle of like the barrel scene, you could smash cut to Frodo going, "This doesn't make any sense. There's no way that you were floating down a river, bobbing around, and you guys didn't all die. There's 13 of you and you didn't die." And Bill was like, "No, for real, this is what happened. I swear to God, this is what happened." And it's just an embellishment that, you know, he's telling a story to a youngster, and that's how you pull it off. You let it can be as ridiculous as you want, because it's just Bilbo like just making shit up and just like embellishing his crazy journey. So yeah, you know, that's how you fix the Hobbit movies, but too late.
Maybe not shooting them in 3D would have helped.
I
don't care if you've invented
I can still watch it. I can still watch it in 2D. I don't understand why people get so mad about it. Don't watch it in 3D. If you don't like it in 3D, don't watch it in 3D.
Because by shooting it in 3D, they were unable to use miniature photography. And I don't care if you've got some 3D tech that makes it look like you're watching through a window.
They also had to do like a
impressive
crazy trilogy in like a month. You know, like it took them like how many years to do Lord of the Rings, and they had to do this in a couple of months or whatever it was. So like, you know, whatever. It should have been Guillermo del Toro anyway. We have gotten off track.
I wanted his mouth
in the best way possible.
Yeah, I didn't invite Richard Holiday for a reason. We need to stay on track here.
I could just see Amy slowly unraveling a New Zealand tourist board banner in the background.
For the yeah. Oh, I gotta go visit.
I mean, sadly, I don't live close to any of the Lord of the Rings based attractions. I live because most of them are in Wellington, and I am not there.
I want to go to the Shire. I want to go to there.
Oh wait, the Shire's kind of close.
Hobbiton?
Yeah, Hobbiton. I mean, I haven't been there because I only just watched Lord of the Rings for the first time middle of last year, so...
Please tell me you watched the extended editions.
I did not. Yes, I know. Disown me. Revoke my citizenship.
I don't think we can continue. Yeah, like, how dare you be a New Zealander? I
mean, it was a bigger how dare you went before I watched anything Lord of the Rings related, but at least I have now.
Ugh. Here's the best thing about the extended editions is that they're broken up into perfect halves that are each a normal movie's length. So even though like each individual movie is huge and ridiculously long, you can just watch half of one each night for 6 days in a row and just have like a whole Lord of the Rings week, you know? That's what I do. I watched the first half of Fellowship of the Ring on Monday, and I'm done by Saturday.
I don't know if it was the first time since the cinema, but like certainly in about 20 years when I had my first COVID jab and was just completely out of unable to sort of think clearly, I just stuck the extended editions on and just watched them back to back like I was a proper nerd.
Oh, I love them. I love them.
Just every sort of 2 or 3 hours, my wife would come in, check I was still alive, and be like, it's still on.
It's got to be my favorite trilogy. Like I have so many like trilogies that I love, but that's the closest to flawless, and just I'll always throw it on, and it's always the extended edition, Amy. Always. I don't even remember the theatrical versions anymore. I saw them in the theater as they came out. I don't remember what's different anymore. I only know the extended editions, and anytime anybody tells me they watch the theatrical version, I'm like, those still exist? You can still get them? Don't watch those. Why haven't they been outlawed and burned like so many good books?
I woke up once to a load of messages on my phone. It was just photos of someone's Kindle, and I was like, what is this? And it'd come through at like 3 a.m. and it was just my mate being like, I finally finished Lord of the Rings. I had to tell someone.
I used to read the book, like books, once a year for a good like 4 or 5 years. I read them like each year. I read them through once. I don't know why I did that, but I did. Like, you know, like some folks like read the Bible cover to cover, like each year. Like I would read Lord of the Rings each year.
I got about 2/3 of the way through Two Towers when I was a teenager, and I was just like, I want to play Zelda. This is dull.
I'll admit, as when I first read it, the very first time I read it, I skipped a lot of stuff. I got to Tom Bombadil, and I was like, what the hell are we doing here? And I just skipped it.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I've been put off reading Lord of the Rings ever since I heard, or like Hobbit, both, ever since I heard that he spent like an entire page describing what a tree looked like.
People exaggerate. Yes, his descriptions run a little long in the tooth, but you know they're written really nicely. They're written
the
really
thing that
well.
got me was the whole chapter of we got to get to Rivendell. Rivendell's going to be awesome. I can't wait for Rivendell. Let's get to Rivendell, and then you get to Rivendell, and it's just fucking boring.
Martin, you know what? That's probably why I feel that the movies are like the best adaptation ever, because I feel like it elevated the source material and made it better than it was, honestly. Like I feel like it made improvements on it versus most adaptations just taking things out until it's a shell of its former self, you know?
Percy Jackson.
And I get it. I understand why it happens. I understand a lot of times it's just movie executives. They don't know anything about how to tell stories, like fiddling with stuff. And other times I know that it's changes that the filmmaker thinks that they need to do in order to tell a story visually versus, on the page. Like, I get that there's differences, but like most of the time you can get it close if you really wanted to. Like, you're just trying to like put your own stamp on it or something, make it something else. Like when they did Dark Tower, I didn't even go see it. I saw that trailer and I was like, no, nah. I love Idris Elba. I love Matthew McConaughey. I'm not watching that movie. I think it's just not gonna happen. I could tell. It's no.
I was really impressed with the latest.
Whose clock is that? Is that your clock, Martin? Do you have a really loud ass clock? Who's got a loud ass clock? Is that you, Amy?
No.
Somebody's clock. Like, I hear ticking.
Like yeah, it's behind the microphone. I'll take. I did. My mic's a mono mic. I don't know how it got the sound of the tick.
I'm sitting here going, is there a bomb in my room? Like, should I be concerned?
It's not even that big. Like, look at this tiny thing.
It sounded like Big Ben was about to go bong. That's the one with the clock, right? Big Ben?
Well, Big Ben is a bell. The tower is Elizabeth Tower, part of the Palace of Westminster.
Now I regret asking.
Oh, just be glad Dick is not here. He's singing the national anthem already.
Oh my god, he's on next week, I think.
Oh, well, you have that to look forward to.
Yeah. No, I shall control the chaos.
Bloody national
I'll wrangle
anthem.
him.
No one knows all the
him like
words,
cattle.
and they've just changed one of them.
Yeah, they changed one.
Yeah, I was like going through God Save the Queen in my head, and I was like, oh yeah, it's the king now.
It's so funny. I told Martin earlier today, I'm like, he's not really a king, right? Like, that's not real.
I mean, on the bright side, I guess you didn't have to learn your national anthem in 2 languages.
Did you?
Yes. We have the English version and then the Te Reo Maori version, which is, Maori native language.
Sure.
So yeah, we had to sing both in 90% of school assemblies growing up with the lyrics up on like one of those projector light box.
I always thought it was
thingies.
so weird when they would make us do like the salute the flag and like the Pledge of Allegiance and all that stuff. Like, I always thought that was weird. I'm like, I'm not in the military. I'm in public school. What the hell are we doing? It's just weird.
Being indoctrinated.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons I homeschool, man. Like, I don't trust these weirdos out there filling my kid's head with weird ideas.
Politics by Adrian.
Oh man. Amy. No. Not you too.
So Amy, how do you feel about religion?
Religion by Adrian. Yeah, give us all of your controversial opinions. I'll make a sizzle reel of just Amy going, and another thing. You got all these. No, I'm not gonna say it. Because then it's a sizzle reel of me saying a bunch of weird shit.
Newsletter promos don't work. It's just what the lizard people want you to believe. Wake up, sheeple!
Sheeple. Jesus. What if the lizard people are, trying to do the best for our own good or whatever? Like, just because they're reptilian doesn't mean they're evil. We don't know.
Yeah, they're not evil, they're chaotic neutral.
Yeah. They just like to stir up a little trouble, that's all. It's not a big deal. Just, feed them some crickets and go about your business,
We are the crickets.
Oh, no.
Chirp, chirp.
What even is this now? I've lost all control.
Cave by Adrian.
I really thought that not inviting Richard would salvage this thing.
I don't know who that's a bigger blow to, Richard or us.
Well, the funny thing is that when I scheduled this thing with Martin, he was like, "Did you invite Richard?" And I was like, "No." He's like, "Because people always expect us to be together for some reason." I'm like, "No, like I'm trying to keep you guys apart. I need you guys as separate as possible." Opposite weeks, different topics, no overlap. You guys have individual strengths apart from each other. Oh man, Martin, your book comes out Friday.
Yes.
Have you begun the ARC process?
Yes, it is with multiple ARC readers as we speak. I basically the best bit of advice I ignored was start your ARC recruiting like earlier, and I didn't anticipate just how difficult it would be to get people to read books. Like, you think, you just ask your newsletter and they'll come queuing up, and they don't, and then some of them do, and then they don't finish it, and and that's fine. That's just part of the game, and it's just a case of you keep, you just keep dishing them out, especially as you're starting off. Story Origin do a group promo for reviews, so various authors put their books up for review. They send this link out to all of their newsletters, and then people can come to you and say, "Hello, can I have a free copy of your book to review?" And you can look and see what else they've reviewed, what their reputation's like, and they'll you can say yes or no, and then they'll either review it or they won't, and Story Origin will send out reminders to them, so you don't have to worry about any of that. And if they do leave a review, you can then get their email address and say, "Hey, would you like to review something else? Would you like to join a street team? Would you like to be my friend? Because writing's lonely." Don't do that last one.
It's creepy.
Be my friend. Be my friend.
Please. Thank you for buying my book, but please. Yeah.
Buy one book, get one friendship free.
Just scan this QR code. Oh man, yeah. I intend to look into that now, Martin, because I signed up for Story Origin recently, and so far I've been enjoying the whole newsletter swap dealie and seeing some good results from that. I had a newsletter go out today, so I'm gonna go and check out.
And you are in a group promo.
And I am in a group promo as well. I included that as well. So all of that is good. It's good. I want to check out the whole ARC thing, because that's cool that it'll like help you like keep up with them and check in with them and all that kind of stuff.
And just because it's advanced reader copy, it doesn't mean you can't keep doing it once your book is out. And especially if you've got a series, you need people to start at the beginning, which makes it a bit trickier. So, people, especially early on, you can be quite reluctant to actually give a copy out for free, but it's not for free. It's in exchange for a review, which can be worth more than money when you're laying the foundations of your author journey.
Sure. And that review is there, like it stays there. It's not just like a one-time thing. Like you'll reap the rewards from that forever.
And what I'd say about reviews is, you want, you can't say, "Hey, do a review in exchange for money," or anything like that. But you can choose who you ask to review, and you want to really fine-tune it to people who read your genre and who like your genre, because often the reason for bad reviews is someone who's reading completely out of their comfort zone, just sort of going, "Bleh, what was that?" Whereas, I've got 5-star reviews off the back of ads where people have just gone, yeah, that was perfect. And I mean, I like my book, but it's actually not perfect. But because, this guy reads sci-fi and my book is exactly tuned
Look at Amy's face. She was
his interest.
Watch all your reviews drop from 5 stars to 4 stars. The author said that this isn't perfect. I agree with him.
I have never seen an author more be his own worst enemy than Martin. Like, I swear to God, his version of marketing is let me go everywhere and tell everyone how bad my book is. And everyone is telling him, it's actually really good, dude. And he's like, no, it's terrible. It's awful. Like, dude, that's not how you sell books.
Yes, but I'm British. If I say anything like that, the zombie queen comes and takes my scones away.
My guy, Neil Gaiman is British. Cut it out. Like,
is he though? Because he's been in America a long time.
All right, so we're sharing him. The point remains, he still has his accent, okay? If his accent remains, he's still British. All right, you're British until you lose the accent. Then it's a different story.
Howdy, folks.
The whole art thing is interesting. Like, I have a couple of like big name people on a list that I'm gonna sell free copies to. Send free copies to. I'm going to send them really beautiful, big hardcover editions. Like, I'm going to make it nice. I'm going to send it to them with a little note like, hey, I hope you enjoy this book. It wouldn't exist if it wasn't for you and everything that you do and blah, blah, blah. You're my inspiration, blah, blah, blah. And I'm going to send it out to these people and just cross my fingers and hope that they read it. And if they read it, that they like it. And if they like it, that they'll mention it on their platform. Because then, like, if just one of them mentions it in passing on one of their episodes or whatever, I'm just like, cha-ching! That's my plan. Get it in the hands of really famous people. Know what I mean? You guys are too quiet. You're freaking me out.
Pay off for you. However,
if Joe Rogan mentions it on his podcast, I'm a made man. That's all I'm saying. If Joe Rogan is like, yo, this book is dope.
For the purposes of a podcast advising people how to market their books, I don't know if that would be the particular piece of advice that I would lead with.
This is not an advice channel. This is not an advice show. We are just having a conversation. They can take whatever they want out of this shit. Like, I'm not here to teach anybody anything. I'm here to learn from me.
I was about to suggest to everybody that they should run with knives.
Yeah, knives, scissors, generally any sharp objects held at like face level as you run. Nailed it. My kids aren't around, are they?
Not for long if they're hearing this.
Don't do that. Yeah.
It's fine, Daddy said I could.
Nope. We got to backtrack all of that.
Oh my god.
Backtrack all of that. Martin, Amy.
What are you doing with that knife? I'm sending it to Joe Rogan.
No, you don't send that. He's got knives. You don't send Joe Rogan a knife. You send him the book.
You send him a knife sharpener.
A knife. He would actually probably really like that. That's a good gift for him. He cuts a lot of meat, a lot of elk, stuff like that.
We do have good advice in this show.
Yeah, it's
I
great
say
advice.
that correctly. I feel like I stumbled over every single syllable.
Nobody noticed until you said something. I had no idea. Martin, Amy, was there anything about this topic that you guys like really wanted to cover today, or ask about, or discuss, something we haven't gotten to yet?
Oh, so much.
Please.
I
keep picking up this empty glass.
That was a really good adaptation. The book is so dull. But
Dune is a great adaptation. I believe that's another one that like. As in the month?
Almost, but not quite.
There seems to be a language barrier thing happening here. I'm Puerto Rican. You got to dumb it down for me. English is my first language, but whatever.
I thought you were going to say second.
I know. That's called subverting expectation. It's a whole thing that like authors do.
That's good.
I just did it IRL, bro. I don't know what's happening anymore. What is this?
It's life.
It's life. Title of this
that's
episode:
what all
Life.
people say.
Is it? Is it?
A musical reference that went over your head.
Oh, did it? Did it? Amy, when are you going to finish this book? What do you think?
Because I know how slow I am with this, I'm aiming for early 2024. Yes, it's a long way away because I have too many hobbies.
But you also need to take your time with it anyway, Like,
yeah, I
get
do.
it right.
I mean, it could be earlier. It could be. But maybe if it's earlier, then I'll just do, like, I don't know, just, like, whack out promotions for, like, I don't know, 17 months. If I end up somehow finishing it in February, just do, like, a major 17-month promotion thing. Just trying to hype people up across 17 months. Don't listen to my advice, guys.
Yeah,
don't do a 17-month
probably not a good idea.
marketing thing.
Actually, I would say leaving a bit more time, especially trying to get arc freezers, can really help you out.
Sure.
I really saved my own ass because there was a discount on one of the promo sites. And we knew we were in this final furlong, and it was a case of, right, when do we pull the trigger and say we're going to do this promo? Because everything has to be ready. And we can get it ready by this date, but let's give ourselves another 10 days for things to go wrong. And then, everything went wrong. And thank God we gave ourselves those extra days.
Well, here's a thought that's really going to bake your noodle. What if you had not left that time for things to go wrong? Maybe nothing would have gone wrong.
You're not that spoon kid in the Matrix.
Yes, I am.
Yes, it would have gone wrong because it did go wrong, and it wouldn't have been affected whether we'd set a final release date or not.
Well, see, because of my anticipation of things going wrong, that's why I'm having like a practice run of both book publishing and book marketing. I'm gonna publish this short story that I've been peddling around the last couple weeks. Couple it with the first 3 chapters of the novel, as per your recommendations, Martin, which was a very good idea. And package that as its own little book and publish the ebook, maybe even some print copies. We'll see. Try my hand at marketing it. It'll be free, so easy to market. And then I'm going to do it again with a little short story collection, again, before the actual novel comes out. So by the time the novel comes out, it'll actually be the 3rd thing that I publish. And by then, hopefully I'll have worked out the kinks of the process. That's my thinking anyway, is by the time I launch my novel, even though it's my debut novel, I'll already know what I'm doing by the time I'm doing it.
Yeah, that's really smart. It's something that I did really early on, was just put a short story up. It was only like a 5,000 word short story on Amazon, and you just go through and you learn the process and you do it firsthand, because the amount of people I've seen get to like their launch day and go, oh my god, I just went to press publish on my book and it's saying 72 hours, what the hell?
Yeah. You didn't just know that because you've never done it before. Yeah,
for
sure.
Going through the motions when there's no stakes is just a really smart move, and people will end up buying your 5,000 word short story.
Well, it's
99p.
mine is 10,000 words, but whatever. The cool thing about that, I overwrite everything. The thing about that is it also provides me with a second benefit, not just the practice of the process and learning the process for the sake of the novel, but by the time the novel comes out, I've got a nice little like collection going on, and I'm trying to sell this big 150,000 word novel to people who have no idea who I am. If they're on the fence about spending however much that book ends up costing, because I still don't know what that's going to be, they don't feel like, oh, it looks interesting, but I don't know enough about this guy, whatever it is. Oh, he's got a free short story. All right, I'll check that out. And they check out the free short story. And along with it, they've got 3 sample chapters from the novel. And now I'm reeling them in a little bit. And if they're still not convinced that they want to spend money on me at the end of that short story, then there's a whole other short story collection that they can read for like $1.99 or whatever that ends up being, something pretty cheap that everybody can be like, yeah, I can spare $2, and now you've got 4 short stories, again set in the same world, all leading into the book in some way. By the end of that, like I gotta have you. If I don't have you, then I've screwed up. By the end of that process, you should want to buy the novel and read it.
Yeah.
So
I want to get into short story writing, like for that sake as well, because I've already got one idea that I've been outlining, which is basically like a scene that takes place during Aster's coda, but because the entire book is through Abby's perspective, we don't know what happens in that scene because, kind of a spoiler alert, she's unconscious the entire time.
Okay.
So, or not the entire time for this
reader
particular
magnet?
short story. Pardon?
Do you have a reader magnet?
I've got the first 3 chapters.
Of the book, like the first 3 chapters, like on
Yes.
their own as the reader magnet.
Yeah, I've got those.
So,
Yeah.
But you're looking to
I'm
write
gonna-
a short story.
Yeah, do that and like sort of use that as like another reader. It could be like a reader magnet because like it's kind of takes place in the same thing, and then you can like see both perspectives
Yeah.
of it.
There's,
and then yeah.
Do you know the newsletter Ninja Books?
I think I've heard of them.
The second one came out about a year ago and is basically exactly what the best practices are for writing a short story or getting sign-ups. And there was a recent talk at the 20 Books Vegas, which sums it up. I'll find you a link for that because it's like, oh, if only someone had told me about when I was writing. It's like my reader magnet was the hardest thing I've written because it's got to make sense. You put a thing at the very back of your book saying, if you like this, then find out what happened to this other character in the backstory. But it's also got to work. If you've never heard of me, this is your first, exposure. It's got to get you excited and that set up. And like I started writing a sort of West Wing sort of political drama, and then realised that it's maybe not as exciting as I need, and then completely reworking it. And it's like, I think if someone had said write 2, one for people who are coming in fresh and one for people who've read the first book, I'd probably have written twice as many words and had a much easier time with it.
That's interesting because I kind of got lucky with mine in that when I originally wrote the prologue to the novel, I wrote it as a short story because I wrote it before I knew that this was going to be a novel. I was just writing a short story, and by the end of that short story, I knew it was going to be a novel. So it became the prologue, but it's always been too big to be a prologue. And everybody's always like, it's too long, you got to cut it. And I'm always like, what do I cut? And they're like, I don't know, everything that's in there you need. So I don't know what you got to cut, but you got to cut something. And I'm like, I don't know what to cut. So like so instead of cutting anything, I just for the purposes of the reader magnet, I completely detached it from the novel, and I'm using that as its own short story for the reader magnet. And again, it works because I always wrote it as a short story. It has a beginning, middle, and end. If you never read anything else, it stands alone as its own little thing. The character, the point of view character, has a nice little arc in there. It feels complete. It also feels as part of the novel. It also feels apart from the novel. It accomplishes everything that it needs to accomplish there. However, these other 4 short stories that I have to write for the short story collection and all leading up to the launch, those I'm having some trouble with because, like Martin, like you're saying, it has to, be in that world. It has to relate to what's going on in the books. But also, I wrote the book and I wrote it in its entirety. It's not missing anything. So, like, what do I, what do I do? Like, where do I get the story from if the story's complete? So I had to find like all these little like loose threads that I could like kind of pull out and be like, okay, well, maybe this can be a thing and maybe that can be a thing. And I'm kind of rolling with that and seeing where that takes me with these next 4 short stories. I have to write a whole one this week because it comes out next Sunday. And I threw out my last version of it. I was like, this sucks. I pulled a Martin and was like, this is garbage. And I tossed it away. And and so we'll see, man. We'll see how that goes with those short stories. But it is very challenging, this idea of like something outside of your novel that entices you to read the novel, but you don't need to read it to read the novel. But if you do, it feels like, you know what I mean? Like, how do you do that?
I mean, just off the top of my head, if I were to come up with more, I mean, for me, it's just mainly like character backstories, because, some of the backstories of my characters have been like really, really cool to conceptualize, but they just have no room in the Asterisk Coda series because that is Abby's story. But like the stories of Jeff and Rocco and Jada and a bunch of other characters, they're all still like severely awesome that I want to tell them. Like, for some reason at one point I even decided to have like a companion series where it's like, this series is all about Abby and what she goes through, and then this is what Jeff is going through beforehand and then later at the same time, just because I love those 2 characters. They're pretty high up. I think, they're definitely among my favorites. I mean, if you don't have a main character among your favorites, then it's definitely problematic, so...
Yeah.
I think it's really
whether I follow through.
I think it's really easy to get stuck inside your head with like reader magnets, like with opening chapters of just going, oh, is this good enough? Does it get people excited? And if you actually stop and look at what's saying in your genre and look at what their opening chapters are, look what they've done for reader magnets, oftentimes you actually go, I don't know, but I'd have said this was the thing that would have got people excited, but apparently it does. And sort of, focus on that. And like for me, I always try, and it's like with video editing, you always want to cut on action. You don't want to wait for someone to stop moving before you cut to the next shot. And with your books, you want to start with something happening, with someone moving, someone doing something. You don't want people just sat around chatting. And that's always my go-to is, what are they doing? My reader magnet starts with someone breaking into an abandoned embassy and jumping the fence and dodging security lights and all this, before we sort of find out what's going on proper.
You're muted, Adrian.
Hey.
Thank you. I was just saying, it's really tricky like that, because like one of the things that I'm butting up against with my reader magnets, with these short stories that I'm writing, is that I'm having to like create new characters to follow and everything, and I haven't like fallen in love with any of them, and I have a hard time writing about characters that I don't care about. I can't make them interesting if I don't find them interesting, or if I don't care what happens to them. I can't put them through stuff. You know what I mean? Like I can't make them suffer if I don't care that they're suffering. I don't know if that makes any sense, but so like I'm creating these new characters, and I'm just like I'm trying to find like the one that's going to jump out and be like, oh, that's a really cool, interesting character that I can go on a ride with, and then like my fear is that that's just going to spiral off into its own like side story or whatever. Like it's like I'll have a whole other series like before this thing is done. You know what I mean?
The issue I had with mine was, so my book starts with this space bartender and his ex-wife comes in and goes, "Help, my new husband's gone missing," and it's all about what this other husband was up to, that he ended up getting into a predicament. And the
cheeky
first
bugger.
That doesn't mean what you think it means.
It does now. I was talking about you.
I've never been accused of buggery before. How dare you, sir? But I realised if I was going to tell this story, it would work fine, except if someone reads The Magnet and starts the first book, they will then have more information than the characters, and that would be a problem. So I had to sort of rewind. Well, because it kills all the dramatic tension of, like, let's go looking for this guy. Where's he gone? Why's he gone? And the reader's there like, I know the answer to all of these things.
Okay. I see your point.
So I ended up rewinding even further and not telling you what he did to get himself directly into that situation, but the thing he did that led him on that journey. So it's not finishing, minutes before book one starts, but it gives you the same emotional connection.
Yeah, for me, I ended up going with, at least for a couple of these, like one that I ended up going with is there's a scene in the book, Martin, you've read it. Amy, spoilers. There's a scene.
Do I block my ears? Should I?
No,
Should I remove my
no, it's not important. The whole point is actually that it's not important because it's a scene where it's the first introductory chapter of this particular point of view character, and so I'm giving you the whole, like, a day in the life of kind of part, right? And she runs this store, she sells stuff in her store, and so she's got like cases with like knives and all kinds of little things that she sells. And there's a scene where I'm going through all her day-to-day customers, and one set of customers comes in, and it's a couple, and she can tell through her little magical abilities that this particular young lady is in an abusive relationship that she can't get out of, and she's eyeing this knife. And my point of view character knows, like, she's putting two and two together, and so when she sells this young lady this knife, she puts a little incantation on it to sort of like it almost becomes like a vengeance knife, so to speak. But nothing ever comes of that in the book. Like, it that person leaves the store, and who knows what happens to that. It's just me showing the kind of stuff that my character would do in this situation. So one of the short stories is that knife's journey, like what happens with all of that and where all that ends up, and the idea of like my main characters in the story like affecting the rest of the world outside of the story. At least that's the idea that I'm running with. But again, like, I haven't fallen in love with any of the characters yet, so I don't know if it's going to change radically, but that's one of the ideas.
Yeah, I think it's important to have someone who is like distinct from your main book. Right. You don't want it just sort of have it be about the same people, or do anything that just feels like an opening chapter. People like to have a complete story. Right. And the general advice is usually a prequel about a side character.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't even know who I would pick.
The other detective.
No, that's another one. I have 4 short stories that I'm writing. That's another one. The other detective that was working a particular case and ends up missing or whatever. And
I mean, you sort of need a detective
his items
who's only
end up
a few
in the
days
story.
from retirement.
Why? Why do I need that?
Because it's a detective story and it's obligatory. And he could say,
No,
I'm
not.
getting... you could have him say, I'm getting too old for this spark.
I don't want him to say that. That's terrible.
If you had a character who was only a few
What
days
a
from the
horrible
development
line.
and said that line, you would fall in love with them, and you would know exactly what you wanted to write.
Debatable.
Yeah,
Incredibly debatable.
I don't think that tracks, Martin. I don't think that tracks.
That's like if someone said like in Stranger Things, like talking about like, I don't know, stranger things have happened here, and it wasn't the
Yeah.
cut to credits line, then I'd just be like, ugh.
Yeah. It's like, credits. Stranger things have happened. Yeah. I don't know, man. Reader magnets, they're hard. They're tricky. You want to nail it. It's part of your marketing. It's part of, and
Yeah, but you can always do another one down the line.
Sure. Yeah, but you could say that about anything. That doesn't change the fact that you want it to be successful in the moment when you put it out. Like, you just because you can do something else later doesn't mean that you should just put out some shit now and just like, well, I can fix it later. Here's some garbage.
Well, yeah, but it also means you don't have to put so much pressure on yourself. You can't get anything done and not put anything out at all.
But I live and thrive in the pressure. Pressure. No, man. Like,
and that's why we call you Diamond Santiago.
Who calls me that?
Martin, apparently.
Martin, apparently. Yeah. This light has been slowly creeping across my face for a while here. You know what? Let me see if this will help if I move this over here. Yeah, that's better. Yeah, there we go. That's
You're not
nice.
so holy anymore.
Yeah, I was, Angels by Adrian, whatever. So stupid. All right, guys, we're gonna start wrapping it up here. Any last minute, sparks of inspiration that you'd like to share or anything like that? What do you guys got?
Unsell books.
Sell books. Yes, let's do that. Amy, sell your book, and then Martin will sell his book. Where do you buy your books, Amy?
Amazon, Book Depository, Apple Books, a bunch of major online retailers. I'm wide, so yeah.
Is there one website that they can go to find all of those things?
Yes, amyrosenfeldt.com. You can find links there to everything, newsletter sign-ups, and my socials and stuff. You can follow me at Amy Writer Rose on a lot of social media stuff for more chaos than this. More chaos than this live stream.
See, guys, marketing. We know how to do it. Martin, your turn.
McMurdo Rift, McMurdo Triangle drops on Friday. It's on Amazon. It's on Kindle Unlimited because I'm not wide. How much do you find traffic comes from not Amazon, out of interest?
More so for me, just because, like, with my friend circles, they just, and like meeting new friends and then saying I have a book for them, like, and all the friends that I meet, Apple Books just seems to be the most accessible for them somehow.
Yeah, I was almost exclusively reading ebooks on Apple Books for a very long time, so I get that. Apple customers are like that, we just, it's just so easy to have everything on one device, so you do it. All right, well, for me, I got a free short story. It's through my newsletter, booksbyadrian.com. Go sign up, get that. Y'all know what to do. Subscribe to the channel, subscribe to the podcast, do all the things. Martin, thank you for being here, bud. This was great. Thanks for having this idea in the first place. Amy, thank you for finally being on the channel. Amy, thank you for being here. Finally on the channel. We're gonna have you back for live stream Sunday. Early. I
can't wait to return.
It's gonna be great. It's gonna be fantastic.
There will be equal amounts of chaos.
No, because it will be controlled by the MC, and I will have a whole episode, tailor-made, catered just for you. Not actually catered. I don't promise any food, but
Taylor make it to chaos.
yes. Well,
That's a contradiction.
I don't know how that would work. Organized anarchy.
Control the chaos. I should make merch out of that.
There you go. You got some marketing stuff out of here. Perfect. We're killing it. This is a complete success. All right, you guys. Thank you so much. I'm going to end this here. Right on, writers. We out.